truly a pleasure to be here today as we all come together for this great panel discussion. My name is Ferial Abu Hantash. I'm a PhD here at Khalifa University in the Department of Biomedical Engineering and Biotechnology. And it's really an honor to be moderating this session as I've met the panelists, and I know that it's going to be a very inspiring talk. I would first like to welcome our two distinguished guests, Her Excellency Lucie Berger, who is the European Ambassador here at in the UAE, and Dr. Roy. Dr. Ray, I apologize. I might sound a little nervous because I am. As excited as I am, I'm also a little nervous. I would like to give a quick warm welcome to everyone here. And I would like to invite Dr. Ray, apologies, to introduce himself.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. It's wonderful to have you here. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, it's great to have you here. This is a really important topic. And emerging technologies alone is an important topic, but enabling opportunities for women in emerging technologies is very important. Not from a do the right thing point of view, from a diversity point of view, but from a do the right thing because it's important to solve these problems point of view. And we recognize the importance of inclusion. And in fact, every study, there have been a number of studies, and in every single study, diverse teams outperform non-diverse teams. This is a fact. Diversity brings new ideas. I kind of have a personal story about this. I was formerly Senior Vice President and Chief Technology Officer of the Lockheed Martin Corporation. And you can imagine Lockheed Martin has their share of problems. And there was a particular team that had been working on a problem for about 2 weeks. And this was a Friday afternoon. They were all wanting to go, get a pizza and relax and go home. And they couldn't get the problem solved. And somebody from outside the team came inside and said, what are you guys doing? You wouldn't understand. We've been working on this, you wouldn't understand. And would you try me, right? And so they explained the problem, and sure enough, this person came up with an out-of-the-box solution that ended up solving the problem. And to me, that was a personal example. It's a real story, and it's a personal example of the importance of diversity. I did actually look up some of the statistics from the EU and from the UAE. And from the United States. And I'll tell you that the UAE and the EU are outperforming the United States in terms of women in STEM, 100%. They're not even close. It's like double. 50% of the UAE Space Agency are women. 80% of the Emirates Mars mission team women. 56% of STEM graduates women. And I just heard the statistic, which I also knew, that STEM graduates in Khalifa University dominated by women, a higher percentage of women. And we also discussed role models. And role models are so important. I had another personal story. I had an opportunity about 15 years ago. Women in aerospace and defense in the United States started taking over. And so the CEO of all of these aerospace and defense companies became women CEOs. And I had the opportunity to work for one. I worked for Marilyn Houston for 4 years, and it was a wonderful experience. And I can tell you from a performance point of view, she did more for the company than had been done previously. And part of the answer was she went on a listening tour, and she connected with the customers, and she, in ego-free zone, she went to listen to people to see what they had to say about our performance as a corporation. And we put changes in place based on the feedback that she was able to get. So we must continue to drive change. We must continue to create opportunities because there are challenges. And I think the challenges can be seen also in the data in the UAE, and that is that the data show that although there are more women STEM graduates, there are fewer women in the workplace in engineering and technology roles. And so we need to use these role models to help partnerships with industry, et cetera, to help create these opportunities. So I encourage the women in KU who are students today and also the women who are graduates to lead with confidence and resilience and pride, and be proud of the education that you've received. Support and uplift the next generation of women. As I mentioned in the beginning, the world faces many challenges, and we all need to work together to solve those challenges, and I'm delighted to be a part of KU. I think education is where it all starts, and STEM education is so important to the solution of problems that we face as a world. So united, we can work on solving those problems. Ambassador, Madam, it's wonderful to have you here. I look forward to the panel, and it's great to have you be a part of KU today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ray. You really brought a very important point about diversity. And I think that we're lucky in Khalifa University to have this very applied. I'd like to now welcome Your Excellency, Lucie Berger, to the stage.
So good afternoon, Your Excellencies, distinguished university leaders, panelists, esteemed guests, and most importantly, dear students. It is a privilege to stand here before you today and open this fourth career talk organized with and kindly hosted by the Khalifa University. This panel discussion is an opportunity to mark the 10th anniversary of the International Day of Women and Girls in Science and the 30th anniversary of the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action, two significant milestones in the global effort to promote gender equality and women's empowerment. Throughout history, women have played a vital, yet often unrecognized role in shaping technology. From Ada Lovelace, who envisioned the first computer program, to Katherine Johnson, whose calculations propelled space exploration, women have been at the forefront of technological advancements. Emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence, robotics, blockchain, biotechnology, and quantum computing are redefining our world. They are influencing every aspect of our lives, from healthcare and finance to education and entertainment. Yet, if half the population is underrepresented in developing these technologies, we risk creating a future that lacks inclusivity, diversity, and fairness. The challenges women face in tech are multifaceted. Gender bias, lack of mentorship, workplace discrimination, and societal stereotypes have hindered their participation and growth in STEM fields. According to recent statistics, women make up less than 30% of the workforce in major technology companies, and an even smaller percentage occupy leadership roles. These numbers are not just disappointing, they are a call to action. But the tide is turning. Around the world, women are breaking barriers, leading innovations, and reshaping the narrative of technology. The European Union and the UAE are both actively advancing policies to foster an inclusive emerging technology sector, internationally focusing on and promoting gender equality within. Recognizing the critical role of diversity in innovation, the EU has adopted a strategy, Women in Digital, which is an initiative that addresses the underrepresentation of women in ICT. Despite comprising 51% of the EU population, women account for only 1/3 of STEM graduates. Driven by this strategy and recognizing the critical role of diversity in innovation, the EU has launched several initiatives to support women in technology to create a gender-balanced ecosystem and close the gender gap in STEM. The Strategic Technologies for Europe platform is an example of an initiative launched to bolster critical technologies across digital, clean, and biotech sectors, with a focus on promoting innovative breakthroughs and reducing strategic dependencies, ensuring that women have equitable opportunities to contribute and benefit from the advancements. Another program worth highlighting is the Women Tech EU program, which offers targeted support to women-led deep tech startups, providing funding, coaching, and mentoring to help them scale and succeed. Across the Arab world, and particularly in the Gulf, we are witnessing a remarkable transformation in the emerging technology space. At the heart of this transformation are women. From the UAE's leadership in the AI space, and in fact naming the first minister of AI in the world, to fields such as those of our panelists today: robotics, genomics, biotech, and Internet of Things. This region and this country is positioning itself at the forefront of technological advancement. The UAE has a higher number of female STEM graduates and is creating an enabling environment for women to pursue and thrive in STEM careers where they are able and encouraged to lead and innovate. I don't have to quote the numbers because Dr. Roy has already done that capably for me, but we have also just concluded a very successful World Government Summit in Dubai last week, and the progress shared at the event is nothing short of fascinating. Your presence in this auditorium today and your choice of studies is the testament that we are indeed on the right path to dismantle gender bias and socio-cultural barriers. While all the successes mentioned around the world are worth celebrating, there is certainly more work to be done to increase representation of women across the board, not just in tech, but in all industries. You, the bright young minds in the hall, are the next generation of innovators, scientists, entrepreneurs, and leaders who will shape the future of technology in this region. You are entering a fast-paced and rapidly evolving world, and my wish for you is to just be part of it, not to just be part of it, but to become leaders, disruptors, and pioneers. You are fortunate to be in a country and region that has ambitious visions for the future and where technology and innovation are central to economic growth, so embrace that opportunity and work hard for a better future for all. I would like to close by saying that today you will hear from a stellar panel of women in robotics, genetics, biotech, and health tech. Women who have defied expectations, broken barriers, and reshaped their industries. Let their stories remind you that the future is not just being built for women, it is being built by women. And the future is yours to define. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your valuable insights. And now I would like to go into the heart of today's session, so the panel discussion. Really what we will be discussing is not technology, rather we want to focus on the pioneering role of women. We want to discuss the challenges that we are facing, and we want to also see what are the opportunities that are being created for the future. So with that, as you have pointed out, we have really a great lineup of experts, and I would like to welcome them to the stage in order to hear their perspectives. Please. All right. Yes.
Sorry, so we switch over.
Thank you. Hello. So I would just like to take a moment to introduce the experts that we have here with us today. I'll start off with our very own Khalifa University's Dr. Kinda Khalaf, who's really a visionary leader in biomechanics and robotics, and who has worked for many years in groundbreaking technology, in rehabilitation and human movement analysis. So I'd like to welcome Dr. Kinda. We also have Dr. Mariam Matar. Your Excellency, you are really a trailblazer in genomics and biotechnology, a real scientist, true advocate in public health, and it's really a pleasure to have you here with us today. We have Dr. Giulia with us as well, who's an expert in AI, robotics, artificial intelligence. She has worked in bio-inspired algorithms and intelligent systems. And with her expertise, I'm sure that we'll gain a lot of insights, valuable insight today. And last but not least are also Dr. Maria de Fátima, who's an expert in photonics and biomedical engineering, and whose research in specifically optical fiber sensors is really revolutionizing e-health monitoring and health monitoring in general. It's nice to have you here. So I'd like to really give the stage now to the experts. So today we don't really want to have it like a Q&A. We are going to have a conversation, I believe, between ourselves. Just be careful.
Much less.
So Dr. Kinda, I'll start with you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So your work is really highly interdisciplinary. And you are bridging biomechanics, robotics, rehabilitation, also with hospitals and with the medical doctors. So can you share how advanced robotics is transforming rehabilitation? And what unique contributions are women making in this field, whether at KU or globally?
Thank you for the question. So first of all, I want to say that it's really a pleasure and an honor to have Your Excellency here and all the esteemed guests, to have the students who I know some of them left class to come here. So it's good. And to have amazing panelists like Her Excellency, Dr. Matar, and my colleagues here. And Ferial is a student, was my student in some classes. So we're very proud to have her. So to answer the question, basically, of course, robotics, which has been advancing very rapidly, breathtakingly rapid pace, has been introducing a paradigm shift in medicine and, of course, in rehabilitation. In rehabilitation in particular, when I talk, I don't know why there's an echo. Do you guys hear an echo or just me? Okay, so it's just me. Okay. So when I talk about robotics, I just want to point out that we are no longer describing the big, ugly-looking, unfriendly robot. So anything that pertains to automation or adding, some automated level of assistive or rehabilitation therapy is among the fields of robotics, which nowadays not much in terms of big instrumentation and whatnot, but rather we're all going towards more like, and Dr. Fatima and Giulia here know what I'm talking about in terms of smaller and more wearable instrumentation. So basically, just to very quickly bridge what Ferial said to what the question is, my main field is, I have 2 degrees in mechanical engineering. And then because I fell in love with the human body, because when you study the human body as an engineer, you open it shop and you look at all the electrical, mechanical, thermal, etc. systems, you say subhanallah, as we say in Arabic, and you start thinking about, you know, what can I do to augment that, to do assistive technology for that, etc. This is when I started enjoying and being very passionate about biomedical engineering and the applications of engineering into a healthcare system and the human body. When I came to this country, which was around 2010-11, I switched from my main area. Before that, I was at Ohio State University and then University of Miami in Florida. And there I did more spinal biomechanics. Here I looked at the devastating prevalence of cardiometabolic disease as well as cardiovascular in terms of stroke. And I saw that there's a huge, bigger, much bigger than global prevalence in terms of these diseases, and of course the complications as related to movement and walking impairment, as well as a much earlier onset. So for example, while stroke happens for people globally in their, let's say, 60s or late 50s, here it's happening in the 40s. And along, you know, with type 2 diabetes and its complications and whatnot, this is when I switched my field into looking more into impairment. And that took two main streams. One of them was basically looking at the quantification of human movement and impairment. And secondly, the design and development based on my mechanical engineering expertise of exoskeletons and robots and whatnot. So now going to your question, Ferial, definitely it's a paradigm shift. I think in the last 10 to 15 years, and I'm talking globally as well as in the UAE and the region, we have seen robotics in rehabilitation basically transcend the assistive therapy phase, where the robot is used to be a rehabilitation, let's say, assistant, to more of the super therapist, where we are capable with the capabilities of robotics to basically augment the current rehabilitation in terms of, for example, repetition, in terms of allowing or introducing quantitative diagnosis, but also tracking of the patient as they go along, as well as you know, so I talked about repetition, as well as the task-oriented rehabilitation. We also are now reaching more augmented rehabilitation with robotics, where we introduce, for example, virtual reality and augmented reality. And here is Dr. Herbert Jelinek from the College of Medicine sitting in the audience. And him and I work on projects that are related to looking at the introduction of more technologies integrated within robotics, but also the super therapist for a robot. And this is when we're, the inner therapist for a robot. And this is where we're talking about the integration of not just looking at physical rehabilitation, but in conjunction cognitive and mental rehabilitation along with the physical rehabilitation. So we have transcended and done all of these. And this is again both in the UAE globally, but also in the UAE and beyond.
Thank you, Dr. Kinda. I would just like to follow up with a quick, short question. Is now that you've mentioned how much work you've done and how many years you've spent at this intersection and trying to bridge things together, is there a specific maybe misconception about women in this field? How have you personally navigated them? How would you advise future engineers and scientists to face these possible challenges?
So a long time ago, you know, growing up in the US and doing mechanical engineering in particular, and I'm still not sure if it's Roy or Ray, because Ray, okay, no, because Her Excellency said Roy, so Dr. Ray for clarification. So as Dr. Ray mentioned, the U.S. actually lagged even then, I mean, especially then, was behind in terms of women in technology and STEM and engineering. So most of the time, I was the only woman in class throughout my bachelor's and graduate degrees in mechanical engineering at a university university, so Ohio State has 60,000 students. So that says something. So in terms of the numbers, I think the field of engineering traditionally, and especially the traditional engineering, which is like mechanical, electrical, computer, civil, were more intimidating for women. And women always felt that, there's a gap, and that maybe environmentally or sometimes, unfortunately, genetically, as some women think we're not prepared for that. And I think it took a lot of maybe like proof of concept from many women who became leaders in this field, and many role models that came through for these stereotypes, which Her Excellency mentioned as well, to slowly be reduced, and I see that logarithmically happening now, to be honest, in terms of bashing the stereotypes and overcoming all of these issues. However, and I had a talk where I also compared the numbers in Europe, the United States, the Arab world, and the MENA, especially the UAE. I have to say that we are proud, not just in the UAE and GCC, but the entire Arab world really has come through in a very impressive, absolutely paradigm shifting fashion in terms of the number who enroll in STEM and engineering. And it's not just Khalifa University, where we have more than 50% women in engineering, and that spans all the engineering fields. So we have every single engineering area here, but also all the universities that we are looking around us at, and of course that comes from a top to bottom approach, from the leadership down. And we discussed it a little bit earlier, Her Excellency and I, about how the leadership really instilled in a very genuine manner the need and the capability of women to overcome these stereotypes and do this. However, and I guess you've sensed that there's a but somewhere here in my statement. Unfortunately, when we translate to employment, this is not the case. So when we look at all these amazing women, I mean, many of them are colleagues and students, and I pride myself to say most of them are smarter than us, because this is a generation with knowledge at the tip of their fingers. I mean, I know this much, and they instantly, including my two daughters, I have two girls, know everything in a second. Unfortunately, the transition to employment continues to be an issue. Another challenge that I still see in our graduates is the venturing, the disruption, which I love when you said the word women need to disrupt, and women are capable of disrupting. So we are seeing this more and more in the EU and the West and the US. Unfortunately, here I don't see that as much, at least within the STEM envelope or area. And I think part of it is cultural, and I like to mention it, especially seeing that we have a lot of Emirati and Arab students in the audience. I like to mention it just to remind ourselves that this is a reality that needs to be acknowledged and dealt with. So I think, and maybe Dr. Mariam can also help me brainstorm this a little bit. I think in our culture, the role of woman was always the role of a peacemaker, not a disruptor. So growing up, we learned to say yes and not no. We learned not to raise our hand as much as and this is somebody who grew up between the UK and US, but it took a lot of energy and a lot of realizing that these are cultural attributes, and while they were great for our grandmothers and grandmothers and maybe mothers, they no longer apply for us. So when I sit in a classroom with women and men, and most of the times women outnumbering the men, and I see the woman with the huge capability to voice things out and to say something, and yet they don't, maybe it's confidence at some level, but maybe mostly because you're all of a sudden in a multi-gender, you have two bi-gender environment, you're not used to saying, no, I disagree with this. You're not used to saying, this is a new idea, let's look at it this way. So I think these are things that we should, in addition to in education, in addition to instilling in our students the knowledge to do technology and engineering and science, I think these are very important skills, especially for the woman, to learn how to basically disrupt. And I'm going to stop at this word, because because disruption is the key word, and thank you, Your Excellency, for that. And women need to know that they are capable to disrupt as much as men, and this is the key for riding the new technology waves and for being innovators and entrepreneurs in this society and beyond.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kinda. And I guess you really made a point about speaking about the cultural barriers, yes, that we are facing here, not just in terms of gender, but also in terms of maybe mixing up respect with being able to talk or maybe just voice another opinion. So we need to understand that it can be done even to our great faculty. We can voice our opinions and we can disagree with them at some points if we feel that we have another perspective. I'd like to ask Dr. Mariam, since we are at this topic, your work really has an enormous impact in the UAE and beyond. And you have recently been the #1 most inspiring woman in 2025 Arabian Business, which is really a great place to be, and also, as can be seen in the list, and maybe the young audience here will connect to that. The #2 was Huda Beauty as the most inspiring woman. So we have a great scientist among us who's the #1, Dr. Mariam Matar. Really, you have truly great accomplishments that I cannot summarize up here, but I'd like you to share with us what you have faced. So given your pioneering work in genetic diseases, in genomics and biotechnology, I apologize if I did not mention this. And you are also the founder of the UAE Genetics Diseases Association, which is really doing amazing work, especially in Alzheimer's disease, and that's where my expertise lie. So how important is biotechnology in public health? And what opportunities do you see that it's giving women in real life and in the career path?
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم مساكم الله بالخير والسرور جميعا. Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm so privileged to be among distinguished panelists with me today. Thank you, Khalifa University. So allow me to introduce myself in a way which I really prefer. My name is Mariam Mohamed Fatima Matar. So if you will tend and send me an email where you mention my mother name after my father name, I will reply back to your email. Otherwise, my office will take the needful step. So being an Emirati woman, I am a physician and as well as scientist in the field of genetic and epigenetics. I was lucky enough to be in the golden age of United Arab Emirates. So my both parents, they don't write and read. We are 9 brothers and sisters. We are all highly educated. We did our post-graduation beyond the border of United Arab Emirates. And maybe majority of my nice and beautiful Emirati and non-Emirati student. So I graduated from medical college and my plan was to be a plastic surgeon. My nightmare is my wrinkles. So when I had my rotation during my internship, I had to spend around 6 weeks in thalassemia center, a center where patients from my own people from Northern Emirates, they come in a bunch of small young kids. Every 3 weeks we see them to come for blood transfusion. And those kids, even some of them 2 years old, they had to have this Ferial machine on their tummy to help them to get rid of the extra iron in their body. So I was so excited every time when I go back home during my day to share with my lovely mother what was going on and how I was a good reason in somebody's life to have their health and their smile back on their face. During that rotation, my mother noticed I'm not that much happy. So she told me, Mama, you need to do something to those patients. I said, Mama, I'm still not even qualified as a physician. I need to get my internship done. She told me, Mama, you are a doctor. You know, for my family, I was the first physician. So to be a physician in my family, it was a big deal. They think, khalas, I have the magic stick in my hand and I can do everything, anytime, anywhere. So I had to do some search. It goes back to 2000, 2001. So at that time, Cyprus were celebrating 11 years where no single child was born with thalassemia. I was wondering what was going on. So I did a small search. I came to know that they enforce a law that nobody gets married in their country unless they are screened for that particular mutation, and as well as the student, for them to get admission or graduated, they need to do so. If the couple will insist to go proceed with their marriage, the church will not approve that marriage, and the government will not pay the treatment from the taxation money. So I do remember that till that time I was wearing no heels, very tiny, 154 centimeter with, I'm coming from a very conservative tribe where we are not allowed to remove our mustache unless we get married. So can you imagine, I had the green light mustache here. So I went to the very senior person in the hospital and I told him, Doctor, let's do the same as Cyprus did. Let's enforce the law where nobody gets married in my country unless they are screened. And let's do so and so. I had these 2 pages. I do remember till today. He told me, Mama Mariam, I know you are top of your class, you graduated with merit, but please leave this for the ministries. This is the role of the ministry, not yours. You become a good doctor, sit in the clinic, receive your patient, take care of them, maintain a good safety net, healthy safety net for them. As Doctora said, Khilda just now, yes, sir, sure, inshallah. I went back home and I told my mother what he told me. Can you imagine? My mother said, Mariam, what we can do? Why they don't do the test? I said, Mama, they don't know about it. My mother, who doesn't read and write, she went and came back. She said, Mama, our neighbor's son is proposing to our neighbor daughter. And as you know, in the Emirati culture, every Friday, at that time Friday was holiday, between 9 to 11, the ladies in the neighborhood, they gather for gossiping and trying new recipes. So my mother, she said, Mariam, this week I will call the groom and the bride mother. Please explain to them and let them come to your hospital and do the test. Can you imagine, in 2005, March, I was guest of honor in the cabinet when this law was approved. Took less than 5 years. So if I was able to do it, I'm sure you were able to do it. So with a suggestion and initiative from my lovely mother in our neighborhood, next week, other neighborhoods start to call me for this gathering. Later on, I was invited in the corporate to come and talk to the females there. So it was the time for me to choose. Shall I go to plastic surgery? Which was my dream, wallah. But I went to Professor Baron. I told him, Prof, I don't know what to do. He said, Mariam, if you want to help your country, and this is what you have to do, you need to go for community medicine, where you practice as a physician in the primary healthcare in the evening, and then in the morning you need to continue to aware and empower your community with this skill. So for 3 years, I practiced medicine from 3 p.m. till 10 p.m. And during the day, every day I'll be in one Emirates from Abu Dhabi till Fujairah. I even ride a helicopter on the top of mountains in Ras Al Khaimah, where I need to visit some of the tribes. But this all won't happen without the great support of my leaders. Allow me here to mention one of the real gentlemen. You know, there is a huge difference between gentleman and male. We have male monkey, male donkey, but we have a real gentleman, as you know. So I had this gentleman, his name is Sheikh Hayyan bin Mubarak Habibi. God bless him, he was the Minister of Higher Education. So, and I have to mention another non-Emirati gentleman. His name is Dr. Howard Reed, who was the Chancellor of High College of Technology, Dubai College. So I came up with, so far I have 28 volunteer initiatives outside my job description on the national level. 11 of them were adopted by the government. They are either an institute or a center or a law, Tabarak ar-Rahman. So I had this initiative. I went to Dr. Howard Reed. I told him, can you allow me to speak to the girls in the college? Only 20 minutes. Every week once, I will tell them and talk to them about anemia, thalassemia. He said, Mariam, thalassemia is very new. Talk about something else. I said, okay, can you give me the canteen? He said, what you will do? I said, I'll start to apply the label. That is in 2001. Orange and green and red, and I will start educating them. I'll come once a week. And then he told me, Mariam, why we don't start a center? So I start the first wellness center, which right now it's in all colleges of High College of Technology, where we educate and we do a support group among different communities of the student. So Howard Reed planned an interview for me with His Highness Sheikh Hayyan. It was the first ever time I meet him. It was in 2001. He said, Mariam, Sheikh Hayyan coming to give a talk, and he will be reading or preparing his speech in the majlis. You be here at 9. I was in the college at 7 o'clock, wallah. You know, preparing myself. I knock the door. His Highness' voice is very harsh, scary, wallah, you know. I knocked the door, he said, Naam. I was so scared. I knocked again. Then the third time I opened the door, I didn't allow him even to talk. For a whole 1 minute, I was talking about my project, UAE Free of Thalassemia 2012. After all this 1 minute, he smiled, and he rarely smiled, by the way, in official places, Habibi Allah yahfadha. He said, Binti, my daughter, can you tell me what you want? I told him I need only 2,700,000 dirham. He said, what you will do with this money? I said, I will establish non-governmental, non-profitable lab, and please give me one of the class in High College of Technology, where I will set this lab, and with a volunteer with this money, I will screen all the students in High College of Technology from Abu Dhabi till Fujairah. Can you imagine, within 10 working days, I receive a call from his office. He wrote a check with my name, not the college name. Mariam Matar, 2,700,000 dirham. I even didn't have a bank account, by the way, that time. So I went to another gentleman in my country. His name is Dr. Najib Al-Khaja, who was leading the Hamdan Scientific Award. And I told him, Doctor, I have money, but I don't have an account, and I want to establish this lab. In 2007, March, His Highness Sheikh Mohamed bin Rashid came and inaugurated our non-profitable, non-governmental lab, which I call it Sheikh Zayed Genetic Research Lab. We were the first organization in the whole region who was able to conduct a genetic screening for 11,282 Emirati, age group between 18 to 28, and we talk about 2007. So we were able to identify the real prevalence of hemoglobinopathies in our lovely country. We were able, with the great support of 17 nationalities who are all on board as a volunteer. They are highly qualified. In an extent where sometimes people, they say, Dr. Mariam is arrogant. She doesn't accept all the invitation. She keeps declining from all those invitations. Can you imagine to have 5 Nobel laureates? Not 1, not 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 وخميسة في عين اللي ما يصلي على النبي. Can you imagine to have 5 Nobel laureates come in person, visiting your organization, where you don't even take care of their commuting or their travel. Only as a support for our small organization, where it happened, one of them, he attended one of my presentation about population screening program after publishing my first peer review journal in the American Public Health Peer Review Journal. And it happened, he was invited to Abu Dhabi. He said, I want to make sure that what you shared with us, it was done in United Arab Emirates, not elsewhere. So instead of him alone coming and visiting our small organization, we had 5 Nobel laureates. So do I have a right to be arrogant and to have this much big head? So this is what an Emirati woman was able to do with the great support of 17 nationalities who love this place, with the great support of real gentlemen, and with the great support and vision of a mother who cannot write and read. My request, I'm not here to advise any one of you, Habibi. My request to you, please, please, whenever you are studying, if you think if there is anything you can contribute to this nation, don't keep it to yourself. And I think we learned from COVID not to postpone things. You have the platform of UAE government. There is an info email. Send your idea, and I guarantee you, within 7 working days, somebody will respond to you. So please, Banat, you have to do it. And allow me, Dr. Kinda, to disagree with you in the last point. I believe it's not fair to compare Emirati women to any other women in the region. I feel it's not fair in their right. Because what we have as an Emirati woman, we are so lucky in everything in our life. Apart from being pretty lady, smart lady, you know, with a lovely smile, very good genetic teeth, you know, it's apart from all of that, we are so lucky with our leader. We are so lucky with our gentleman leader. His Highness Sheikh Zayed, Allah yarhamah wa yahsin ilayh, Mohamed bin Zayed, Mohamed bin Rashid, الإمارات الشيخة Fatima. That's what makes us different. And I think we should give back to this country. It's not an option, Banat. It is our country. We have to contribute. For example, many people, they tell me, okay, Mariam, you have no wrinkle and you didn't become a plastic surgeon. So I made sure I have a good friend, a plastic surgeon around me. So everything can be complemented if you know what you want to do. And please, Banat, respect time. My only request, I'm not advising you. If you want to do any change in your life, in your country life, respect time, respect time. Come before the start of the class, 5 minutes earlier. The place, respect time, you will see a huge difference in the development. And when we talk about women in STEM, so many people, they say, يعني ما شاء الله UAE, we exceed the region, Europe. I can agree, but at the same time, I have my humble opinion. We didn't exceed. We had no other opportunity. As a woman, the boy, they have all the right to go and choose whatever they want, you know? But we as a woman, we need to improve ourselves. And when we go for science, because our parents will keep telling us, Mama, please become a doctor, so there is no more other lady will expose themselves to a male doctor. And when it's come to science, we choose it. But by default, we tend to have 2 X chromosomes. As you know, women, we are the main reason of civilization on planet Earth or elsewhere, if there is any other civilization. And it's proven that all those mutation and epigenetic markers which are responsible for your frontal lobe and mental smartness located on the X chromosome. So by default, we are smart, mashallah. If one is not working, the other one will switch on. While poor guys, you know, حليلهم, they have only 1 chromosome. And believe me, when you would like to visualize the chromosome, the Y chromosome حليلة always come in the corner. You know why? Because even from molecular biology point of view, they have less weight when it comes in the way. It's more of a, yeah. So they will be located, and every time somebody will say, Rayal, Rayal, I say, okay, Mariam, be quiet. The other request, allow me, I'm taking long time, but this is an opportunity where I would like to share with my sisters. People, they say, and allow me to disagree, Doctora. Yes, if you allow me. And I will disagree with Her Excellency as well. I don't want you to be disruptive, Banat. Please don't. And this is from my humble experience. I was the first woman in the history of my lovely country and the youngest to take a position as Under Secretary of Public Health and Primary Health Care. I was only 28 years old, Banat. Right now I'm 49 and my biological age is 16. So in 28, when I were there, they were all gentlemen and male, different type around me. So I was always would like to show myself, I know everything and I know better than them and they are all dinosaurs around me, you know, I am the youngest there. It didn't work. Who advised me? My lovely husband. By the way, I am so lucky in everything in my life, with my parents, with my country, as well as with my husband. My husband, he's a very good-looking, mashallah, you know? Can you imagine? To be a physician and to have a good-looking guy? And he's a psychiatrist, and he's a Harvard graduate. Can you imagine? So you need to set your bar very high. Every time I come home and I will be frustrated, he said, Mariam, please, don't act like a woman. Act like a daughter. I said, in which way? He said, Mariam, they are all, the youngest is the age of your father. If you disagree with your father, would you sit and confront with him? I said, no, you will respect him, Mariam. I said, yes. He said, Mariam, whenever you will go, and they are your colleague in the same position and authority which you have, try to be the last one who talks in the room. I said, no, how come, Karam? I am the first one. I have to show that we can do it and they will allow. He said, Mariam, take it step by step. We as a guy, we have the testosterone. We like to show our muscle. Let them show all their muscle. Let them talk. And you will have an even better idea. You will not repeat what they will say. It was an advice from my husband. In any room you will see me, I will be the last one who will talk. But when you will check the minutes of the meeting, my final talk was the conclusion and was the decision. And additional to that, I used to go to them and I lobby. I will give them the thought and the idea, and during the meeting with the minister, I will be quiet. I will show, and they will show as if it was their idea. But before that, I will go to the minister and I share with him all my thought and my idea and my proposal. So try to feed the guy their arrogance, you know, and try to allow them to shine their testosterone. You will not lose anything, believe me, Banat. And at the same time, we will keep our value and our culture by respecting ourselves, respecting our elder, and still maintaining the hierarchy. Because I believe with this hierarchy where we know that I am a wife and he is husband, I am a sister and he is my brother, that will maintain a very strong culture, which was rooted deep long back, even before the start of our country. Please, Banat, be respectful, respect yourself, respect your elder, respect their testosterone, and you will get all the position, and they will push you. I end up having a thought, discussing it first with the minister, later on sharing it with my senior lovely gentleman colleague, and I got all the things done. It doesn't matter who did it if you have a good intention for your country. As long as if it is done, khalas Banat. So please, respect, have a very clear insight, and have your vision, share your knowledge, give credit, let them take it as long as it is happening, and believe me, everybody will know that you were behind it. This is my request, not advice, Banat. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mariam. Really, one of the questions I wanted to ask after seeing your background and profile is what kept you so motivated, but I think you have answered this in so many ways. Yourself, of course, your passion for your country, and the support. Yeah, your mother. So if you take her as inspiration, I think that most of the audience will leave here today taking you as inspiration. Yeah. Next, I would like to, because we are a little bit, I know that you are not here for too long, so we will now hear from, not at all. I think, exactly, in theirs and ours as well. It is, we are here to talk as much as we can in the time that they would allow to share their time with us. Dr. Giulia. Your work is truly futuristic, and we're going to go more, maybe a little bit more technological here, but still talking to the women in the audience. So you're applying artificial intelligence, you're applying robotics in the natural environment. I want to ask you that in your research in marine natural environment specifically, how do you see the intersection of bio-inspired technology and environmental sustainability? And what are the challenges that women are expected to maybe face in this field? How can they be addressed? Tell us from your own experience. Yes.
Thank you so much. Will you hear me? So thank you so much, first of all, for inviting me. I'm very happy to be here because it represents the true part of my heart, of my soul. I am European, of course, by origin. I am Italian. But the second half is definitely Emirati, since I live in this country since 10 years. And when I arrived, actually, I've been welcomed in a lovely way, I can say, from this country. And I'm very grateful, actually, to this country. And I've been welcomed mostly by women. And I remember that they invited me for some sessions of empowering for women. And for me, it was extremely relevant. I arrived with 3 kids, quite young. The youngest was 2 years old. So, of course, it was a tough period of the life, I would say, very busy. And to listen to these women, Emirati women, so empowering, it was extremely important for me and also for my career. Going back to your question about sustainability. So sustainability, of course, is a critical issue nowadays, where the main problems, right, of humanities are related to climate change, to pollution. And also sustainability actually was my interest when I was young. I was loving nature. I was spending all my time during the day observing nature. And for this reason, I was willing to study how nature works. And I was passionate about physics. I remember my grandfather, right, since I was pretty good at school, he was expecting I was becoming a physician, a doctor. But because of my personality, I was telling him, I don't feel to be a physician or a doctor. So it was, okay, said no. So he tried with the second shot. Okay, at least you would like to become a lawyer. Okay. And also, I couldn't essentially satisfy his expectations because I didn't feel to become a lawyer. So at the end, I insisted to follow my passion, and I became a physicist. I tell you this also because beyond my story, what I think is very important is that you follow your passion. Because life can be hard sometimes, definitely it is. I think everybody in this room had so many obstacles in their life. But passion is a trigger, right? So essentially is what is pushing you forward and allows you to overcome the barriers, to overcome the hard periods of your life. So starting with nature, with the passion of nature, after the master degree, I was thinking, okay, how can I help the preservation of the nature in technology? And this is how I arrived to robotics and to AI. So essentially technologies that can be used, first of all, for monitoring the underwater environment. I was always passionate about the sea, specifically, actually, in terms of environment, and monitoring was crucial. Also, essentially, the underwater environment is pretty unknown, so it was extremely fascinating to have some eyes under the water in order to observe what is happening there. And in this way, I started working in robotics and for the marine environment. Also, I think that these technologies like AI and robotics are relevant not only for monitoring the health status, right, of a system, but also to have some early detections, right, of possible threats. So, of course, course, we cannot control what is happening under the water, right? While these technologies, they really allow a real-time system to observe any threat or any possible danger that can be under the water, like, for instance, oil spill. And I think that is true. This is essentially from robotics to the nature, but it's also true the way back, so from nature to robotics. The problem of robotics and also AI nowadays is energy consumption. So we never talk about what all these models of deep learning or generative AI, which are amazing, right, for us. They are really, me too, I keep being astonished, honestly, by the performance. They consume a lot of energy. And this is a problem in terms of sustainability. It's a big problem in terms of impact, right, on the natural environment. But nature can inspire technology, and this is how I started working on bio-inspired technology. Nature is extremely energy efficient. And in this sense, for instance, there are new technologies, a new AI, right, the third generation, essentially, AI, that is following, is very much inspired by the behavior of the brain. And these are the neuromorphic systems. So neuromorphic systems are extremely energy saving. And in this sense, nature is inspiring us. So I like to see as a double way, right? It's from technology to nature, but also from nature to technology. I was also very much fascinated by, for instance, the school of fish under the water, of flocks of birds, right? These collective systems that they behave in an extremely harmonious way in nature without any coordination, right? So what I try to do essentially is to reproduce the same in robotics. That is called essentially swarm robotics, and also in this case is a kind of technology in robotics which is extremely inspired by nature.
Yes, like swarms of fish and hadis. It is truly something that we inspire to do, because nature is the best engineer, I believe.
Definitely.
Yes.
Definitely.
So you have talked about like this field of robotics and AI. Maybe you have a personal story that you want to share, or coming from internationally in Italy. Is there like a specific thing you want to highlight? For example, here in the UAE versus globally, something that maybe the audience here would be able to appreciate or to expect as a challenge in the future, moving on to after they graduate into the career world. If you would like to share anything.
Yeah, definitely. So I started my career in Italy, and I remember that I was in an R&D sector for the industry, so essentially it was an engineering company, and I remember that in all the meetings I was the only woman. So honestly, I was so much used to this that the first time that the second woman appeared, I was really surprised. Oh, there is a second woman. Yeah, exactly. I remember that at that time, for instance, I had a big support from my boss, that was actually a man, a gentleman, I would say, to follow Dr. Mariam, exactly. That supported me a lot in finding new solutions in order to pursue my work, even if, of course, I was busy, right, with these three kids. So it was a few years ago, let's say 20 years ago, maybe so many years ago. And, but it was a really open mind in the sense that I was able to work from home or to have some flexibility. And it was quite kind of rare, I would say, in Italy. Then when I moved here, actually I was surprised on how much women are empowered. I remember some very nice statements and advice from the Sheikh Zayed. And I think you are really lucky in this country because you have so many essentially policies that they can help you in pursue your career. And then also I like of this country that they are never scared about an obstacle, right? So they always find the solutions to go beyond the obstacle. And also, this is true also from a technical perspective. So you really use, right, the technology as a benefit for the humanity and in particular for the population. So I think that it's very important to adopt some smart solutions also for the work that sometimes can be tough. So for instance, I remember one event that I was very willing to go in a mission on the sea, right, for a measurement campaign. So I did a lot of courses, survival, etc. At the end, finally, I was ready. I got my certificate. I was ready to leave. And then I got pregnant, so I was waiting for the first baby. So of course, I couldn't go for the mission. But I remember that the solutions that they found, that at that time was not obvious at all, essentially is that on a daily basis, they were sending me the data from the vessel, from the ship, and I was at the desk in the office. So essentially, I was able to follow this measurement campaign, even if I was not on the sea, but I was actually sitting at my desk. So this was a kind of first applications, exactly, of smart working solutions for women.
Yes, and I think that's a very important point, is that maybe having a family does not mean stopping your career.
Yeah.
It just means maybe if you shift the focus for a little bit, or if you get even more inspired to continue work and to contribute more to the future of your family and
I can
children.
quickly comment on that if you don't mind, because I have 2 girls, older now. I think having a career as a woman, especially with girls, you parent by role modeling, really, and you learn very quickly how to have quality time. So I think these were, I mean, of course, it would have been nice to spend more time, but being able to budget for quality time and knowing that what I'm doing is embedded in my parenting, what I'm doing to my career, and to improve, you know, to pave the way for myself and my students, my kids, seeing that, I think that was embedded in my parenting. So definitely am for having family as a career woman, and I feel it especially in this time and age, this is the best way to teach your daughters and your sons, of course, that a career, whatever it is, and in whatever fashion, form, or way, is something that enhances your life and those around you.
Yes, I can't agree more, Dr. Kinda. Dr. Maria. So, Dr. Giulia just introduced physics, engineering, healthcare, and your work is really inspirational in healthcare monitoring. So, using optical fiber sensors, how do you see them changing the landscape of healthcare? And, apologies, and specifically the role of women that you see in the field with these innovations?
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me? Is this working? Yes, perfect. So yeah, how do I see the technology changing? Well, the technology itself is disruptive. We are talking about having in a device that is the size of your hair, where you can inscribe multiple sensing mechanisms, that you can sense multiple parameters at the same time with high efficiency, high accuracy, high sensitivity that we don't see mostly in electronic ones. So I will say that the disruptiveness of these sensors, of this technology, is that one. Applied to health, well, definitely that's where we need the most accurate sensing, definitely for precise diagnosis and so on. So we are talking about technology that is small enough that can be embedded in any type of wearables to monitor different parameters, physiological parameters, physical parameters as well at the same time. So there is this factor there of how good this technology is. Actually, the 2 questions are connected, because if this technology has that capabilities and has so much room to grow in terms of the applications, in terms of how we make it a technology that is more available to everyone, because it's not a technology that it's in the market. It's not something that is commonly used for different sensings, but that means that there is room to growth, and there is room for these students to take that lead in developing this technology, go to the market. We are talking about sensors. We are talking about devices that have the capability of being marketed. So take that entrepreneurship vein that you can make use of all the support that you have here at the university and at the UAE level as well to start your own company, start your novel idea as well. And on that line, I will just like to make a small comment on the disruptive factor, the word that was here. I kind of think that Dr. Mariam, yourself, you are a disruptive kind of research. You are a disruptive example because you broke barriers. You fought for it. For me, that's being disruptive. Now, be disruptive smartly, as you did. You know, I think that should be the key.
Thank you very much for that comment, but I didn't break anything. I made sure I was very smooth,
but that's
very soft, yes. The same like my voice, you know?
Exactly.
So I'll make sure even, sorry, that's important, why I want to make sure they will not break anything.
No.
You know, Banat, never, please. Always there is a way where you can have your breath going through. If you will start breaking things, you will have lots of resistance. And life is so lovely. You want to enjoy your spa, you want to enjoy your life, you know, you want to enjoy your sleep. You don't want to go and burning yourself in the career, fighting with your superior, fighting with that. Please, Banat, my only request to you, as she said, it's, as Doctora said, sorry, okay. You can be disruptive, but always
Smartly.
bear in mind, if smart way, you know, never break anything, Banat, never.
Doctora, sorry if I may
Disagree,
no,
which is very healthy.
No, not disagree, but I think you misunderstand. So we are using the word disruptive as in, and the same, I think, what Her Excellency change. Disruptive means that you go out of the box. And so when I meant to be disruptive, and I completely, I'm talking about, you know, so we have a path, we have a way that we're going. And oftentimes something, you know, just like when computers came 20, 30 years, well, 40, 50 years ago, right? 30 years ago. And that disrupted our typical way of doing it. This is the word disruptive. In my opinion, there is a fine line and a very important way to have a balance between empowerment and entitlement, and between respect and disruption. Respect is not even negotiable. We all respect. But what I'm sensing, what I wanted to relay, my experience as an Arab Muslim woman in particular, that somehow in our culture, although my mother was a career woman, but in our culture it was about, you know, let your elders have the last word. Let somebody who is older than you, whether they're right or wrong. You know, when you see a lot of people raising their hand, wait, you know, like and I appreciate that and I respect it. We all have different ways. But I think as women, somehow we sort of, in our culture, we sort of muffle the confidence that comes with, no, I mean, with all due respect to our elders, if they're wrong, they're wrong, and we can voice that nicely. And as she said in class,
Doctora,
that's what I meant.
I disagree in a good way. And again, when we say disruptive, why I'm emphasizing on this? We had an event in Sharjah Technology with Hussein Al-Mahmoudi, and we had an international speaker who started talking about disruptive. Be disruptive, you know? And the vibe which we felt in that audience, Doctora, in the break, you cannot imagine how our Emirati girls, they receive it. They receive it as being strong, bold, you know? So that's why, as you said, it's very important if we are using any terminology, We need to define it and what we mean, and we have to make sure the audience, they understand it that way. The other point, which again, I disagree with Dictora, which is very healthy way, by the way. If you agree with everyone, there is something wrong. So the other point, can I have 1 more minute?
Sure, 1 more minute.
1 more minute?
It would be,
Yeah. So the other point which I would like to, let's say, recall, and I hope it will resonate in everyone's mind. We go back to personalized medicine. As a physician, when I see a patient having hypertension, I used to immediately prescribe beta blocker, calcium channel blocker, and I will tell him, please measure your BP twice a day, 3 times per week, and come back to me after a week. But right now, with our better understanding since 2014 about personalized medicine and the importance of ethnicity and how our body reacts when our liver enzyme react, it's completely different. I'll do first genotype. If you are Caucasian, I will prescribe beta blocker. If you are from Africa and Middle East, I'll go with AC inhibitor and calcium channel blocker. The same is applied with what Dr. Kinda said. We in United Arab Emirates, we are a little bit different than any other Arab women. We are facing less resistance on the family level, on the community level, in the workplace. I cannot say that there is no resistance, there is no barrier, but it is somehow negligible, especially in 2025. If you were talking about the same point, Dr. Kinda, when I was in 2005, I will agree 100%. But right now, our parents are more supportive for a woman than the boy. Our country, the government sector. So, Banat, you need to focus and try to challenge yourself for another barrier. And in my opinion, the barrier which we are facing as an Emirati woman is to make sure to define our border as a woman, as a mother, and as a wife, and to define our estrogen. Please, Banat, nobody taught me when I became in all those leadership programs in Dubai government, in ministry, that there is something called women leadership. Nobody told me that my estrogen and progesterone fluctuation in the first day of the period would affect my decision. Nobody told me that postpone that decision if you have your period. I came to know I will never ever take a decision if I have my period. So what I have to do, when I will take any position, any project, I make sure 60% of my team are male, gentlemen, not male, gentlemen. And only 40% female, not because I don't want female to be there. I'm talking about executive team. Because physiologically, within 6 weeks, if you are all female in one room, you will have your period in the same week, Banat. So I don't want to end up having a decision to be taken and everybody are in their period like me. So that the diversity. So when you have male and you encourage and send a gentleman to do his post-graduation, and you will send 2 boys, 1 woman, not because you are not supporting women, because you need those guys. So the 2 decisions I took in my life, and I regret till today, it was my first day of the period. That's why I spoke with my colleague in INSEAD and in Monash University. Whenever we talk about leadership, women should understand her biology. Gentlemen, they have to understand their biology. If you will respect our biology as a male and female, you cannot imagine the support, Banat, which you will get from the community, in the house, in the workplace. Final point, Allah يخليك, سامحيني. I don't get this opportunity with our level. I have an appointment, I know, but the other point, Banat, which I would like to request you, Habibi, never, ever accept any proposal unless you make sure that guy will sign in the marriage contract that he will not stop you from studying your post-graduation and he will not stop you from working. Write that in your marriage contract, Banat. Because if they will say this is a male promise, please don't buy it. Banat, write it in the marriage contract. And this is per the law and constitution of UAE, you are allowed to write whatever contract, whatever position. كتبوا في عقد القران بنات، ما يروم يوقفكم لا عن شغلكم ولا عن دراستكم. لا تاخذون كلمة ريال. So I'm sharing with you things which I wish somebody told me before. So please do it, بنات, okay? Please.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mariam. Thank you all for all the panelists here.